Hello everyone, welcome back to one more session of Management Information System. Today we will be discussing with one more new topic, that is the technology of information system. So this is purely totally an IT oriented information systems where we will be dealing with the various technology, their processing and their contribution towards the achievement of the information system. And this module consists of lot of interesting topics. The topic goes like this. The first would be about the data processing. In the previous sessions we have seen what is data and its importance. Now we will see about the processing of the data, and after data processing we will go with the transaction processing. So when we know about the data processing and the transaction processing, obviously the next concept would be the application processing. When these three processing, that is the data processing and the transaction processing and the application processing is achieved, then we have our own the information system processing. The next concept that will be dealing with this module is the OLAP. We call it as online analytical processing. Very interesting concepts. Next, we'll look into the total quality management. We call it as TQM, and the concepts of quality and its assurance will be discussed in this module also. And later we'll go into the human factors and user interface that would be encountered with respect to the information system. And finally we would be discussing about the evaluation and feasibility of IT solution with respect to the technology of information system. Let us start with the introduction. We know that the developing of the modern information system is very complex. I'll tell you why is that. The first reason is to develop any of the information system, that is modern information, it is a complex process. We will see why it is called a complex process. Next, to know that or to understand the information system or to develop an information system itself, one person or a person needs to be very knowledgeable. He needs to know the concepts, how, and also he needs to have the skills, and he should be aware of the various technology with respect to all the discipline. He cannot say that I know a complete thorough knowledge of only one discipline or the other discipline. No, an information system, as we have discussed, it provides a overall information of an organization in a complete aspect. So a person needs to be very skilled. When we say about a knowledgeable, you should have the skills. You should know how the system works, what is the flow completely, and also you should be aware of all the technologies. Because he needs to develop an information system, he should be aware of the existing technology and also the future advancements of the technology. And here when we talk about the information system, the developer and the designer and the user are the three entities we look into it, and all the three should be very knowledgeable. So when we talk about these things, there are three entities. We call it as developer, designer, and finally user. Why all the three persons are said to have a knowledgeful or are said to be a knowledgeful person is the reason. So we'll look into it. Why? Because when we say about an information system, this system should provide a complete knowledge or a complete information of an organization, including a bit and lower level information and the utmost prioritized top level information. So user should be aware. When we say that user wants an information system, he should be thoroughly aware of it, what is he required, and he should describe in such a way that he should be exactly saying this is what I am expecting in the information system. To say that, he should have a thorough knowledge of the system. So that's why we say that all the three entities, the user should be very knowledgeable, he should be skilled, and he should be knowing that what kind of information is needed for his further development or a future. Next is a designer. So whatever user says, the designer should be able to assess it. When he says that able to assess it, he should be aware in all the disciplines, because a person, when we say a user, will not come only from the IT field. He might be from a financial field, he might be from commercial business field, he might be from medical domain. So he would user, we cannot expect from a one discipline. So he would be very much aware with respect to all the disciplines. That is what I was saying when we say about knowledge, skill, and he should know how the things work, and he should be aware of technology and also disciplines. When you say disciplines, almost all the things. That's why being IT students, even you should not only concentrate yourself on the IT technology, even you should be aware of the financial, the commercial, manufacturing, mechanical, civil, everything. We don't know in future what kind of projects you will be taking up. So a designer should have a thorough skill of all the things. When the user provides the right information, designer will be able to assess it, and designer will be able to design the outline. When we say about design the outline, it is something like the SRS, complete designer will be able to design it. And finally, since developer should also be a knowledgeable person, then he can have a complete development that would satisfy the end user. So in order to develop an information system, all these things should be known to the persons who are involved in the information system. That's why I said developing an information system is not an easy task. It is a complex procedure or a process. Next, to become a successful developer of an information system, it is necessary to have the core understanding of different kinds of processes. So you people mainly look into the jobs like a development. So for you, if you want to become a successful designer or a developer, what is the thing you should be aware of it? You are supposed to have a core knowledge or a core understanding of different processes. So when we talk about the processes, there are different processes. So you should be aware of core understanding. So core understanding of what? Core understanding of different processes should be thoroughly known to you people, because I already repeated it. So you should be developing a financial application, you might be developing an application for civil person, you might be developing an application for manufacturing industry. You should be thoroughly able to assess everything, and you cannot say that no, I restrict myself to only development of IT projects. No, so you should be providing a complete information. This is what we are dealing with, the technology of information system. So you should be completely aware of it. Next, going to this chapter, here we deal with, or we understand, or we learn with how the systems are built. When we talk about system, there are various systems. We will look into those systems in the further class sessions, other classes. So here you will be also knowing how the systems are built and what care should be taken in designing them. It is also learnt in this module. And primarily, this whole chapter or the module deals with the basic understanding of the processes. Various understanding or various processes are thoroughly understood, and essentially, even though the technology is significant factor, it is good that designer should have all these kinds of information. So this is just an introduction of starting this module. Next, let us look into the first part, that is data processing. So in the module 1 we have seen the importance of data, why data is needed, what kind of data are there, what are the different data available, how data are collected, and how data is converted into information, and why information is so important. All these things have been discussed. Now we will see why the data processing is so important with respect to any of the technology of the information. We know that data is the smallest atomic entity. So we call this as smallest atomic entity. We know that when we talk about an atom, it is the smallest unit. In the similar way, data is said to be the smallest atomic entity in the information system. To build the information system means why the importance is given to data is understood now. Because of this data being a smallest atomic entity with which we are able to develop the information system. Next, this topic of data processing decides, or the character of the data decides the quality of information. I am repeating it so you know that the quality decides. Means the quality of the data decides the characteristics of information. This is very important. Means you should have a very good quality of data. I always tell you, like simple input, process, output. You give a good quality of data as an input, obviously it would be processed and provides you good quality of output. So simple analogy. In the similar way, care is taken with respect to the data collection so that a proper and a complete data is taken or collected, and its usage will ensure the quality output. What do you mean by that usage? So we should be remembering the two important points. One is the quality of data is very much needed, means the data should be taken from an authenticated source. Means when we take about data from authenticated source, it is obviously understood that we are taking the right quality data. Means we are not taking unusual or unwanted or assumptional data. We are taking the right data which defines the various characteristics of information. When you say about the characteristics of information, a good information, the data is converted information, a good quality data provides good information, and moreover, how the quality of information is processed as an output, it depends upon the usage. So if we have a very good data and if we make a best usage of a data, we would be able to get a classic very good output. So hence, if any information system, it is significant that we are supposed to take care of building the data as the first level of the input. Means in any of an information system, the first level, a care should be taken for building that data itself, because data plays a major role. So continuing with the data processing, what happens? This is all about the importance of data. Okay, continuing with this topic itself. So when we talk about the data processing with respect to computer, what is that? It is nothing but a computer process that converts the data into information. So this is the process. What is this? What kind of process is this? This is the process that converts the data into information. We know what is information, why is information, it helps to make decision and everything, we know that. Now what is data processing? In short, we can give this equation. So what do you mean by data processing? Means data processing is nothing but a process of converting the data into information. We call this kind of processing as the data processing. The process is usually automated in a computer and runs automatically on various systems like mainframes, mini computers, microcomputers, or even in the personal computers. We automate this process of data conversion of data into information. Therefore, the basic data are most useful when it is well presented and actual information is obtained. Means very important is it should be presented well. This is the key point. This is why we talk about the importance of presentation. Not that data collection is very important. Obviously, it is also important. Collecting the data is one concept and processing the data into information is obviously the main goal of this application or this processing, data processing. And finally, a care should be taken that all the processed data should be presented well. Only if the presentation is well, the end user can actually get the required information. That is the main intention of data processing. Also, it is referred to as the information system to emphasize the practicality. This is what we are about to expect the concept of data processing. So therefore, the data process has a lot of functions into it. What are those different functions? When we talk about the different functions, whatever we have studied here, it is categorized into three main functions. First one, I'll rub it here and then continue with this. The main important functions with respect to data processing are data collection. This is what we discussed now. Why the data should be collected from a right source. The first major important function that can be considered with respect to data processing is the data collection. Second one is the manipulation. What do you mean by manipulation? It is not that changing the original data. When we talk about the manipulation, it is the processing. It's a process that happens from the obtained data. That is conversion of data into information. We should not mistake that here we are manipulating the data into different thing. Of course, we are manipulation means it's a conversion. What is that? It's a data processing happening from data to information. And finally, the third function is storing. When we talk about the storing, it is very much needed because we need this information after data processing in order to generate reports. Why are we needed to store those informations? We need to generate some reports, and also it is in very much informations are needed to analyze the business activities. So that's why the three functions are said to be the predominant one. The first one is data collection, and second one is the manipulation, that is the data is converted into information. When this information is been produced, we store it in various applications that might be using this, because we have lot of tools to analyze it. So why are these three functions important? Is in order to generate reports at regular intervals, and also it is very much useful to analyze the business activities. So finally, data processing is a system which is oriented primarily for the processing or the transaction of day-to-day operation. So in order to achieve this, we are having the operation called data processing. This was about the data processing. Next, we have discussed already in the beginning of this session, what is the next stage of data processing? It is nothing but the transaction processing. So very simple thing, we know about transaction. What is transaction? Give and take, exchange of things is said to be transaction. So after the data processing has been done or a process, the next step in the processing is the transaction itself on certain line. Obviously, the intention of data processing is also included in order to achieve the transaction. A transaction is processed with reference to a business rule. So it is not that simply we keep on carrying the transaction or we do the transaction. Each transaction is done based or with respect to some of the business rule. A rule may be directly related to a transaction or it might be having some relation and association. So when we talk about the transaction, it is done with respect to some business rule, though it might be directly related. So there is one more concept, due to some of the relation and also with respect to some association, we carry out the transaction. This is the importance of transaction. Now the transaction, what does a transaction include? So when we talk about transaction, it includes sales. When you talk about an organization, there would be a lot of sales. So when you talk about that, there would be orders. The sales or the sales orders. There might be shipping orders. Shipping orders might be there. There might be inventory orders. Even there might be payroll data. That's why, though you might be an IT student, computer technological student, you should be aware of all these disciplines, various aspects also, because you are the students who would be developing these kind of application in future. So when we talk about the transaction might include sales order, shipping order, inventory order, payroll data, everything. For the most of these transactions, routine procedures can be established and carried out respectively to do the processing of various requirements. Means, you know, the sales order, a application or a procedure can be applied or a done or a generated, which is a routine work. So when the sales are there, monitor the things. The shipping order, whenever there is an order, keep shipping the products to them. Inventory, maintain the inventory of the stock. So how much stock is there, how much has been sold out, everything. And finally maintain the payroll, that is the salary and all these things. So complete information includes the transaction, because each transaction is directly associated with all these parts. I have mentioned only a few. There might be n kind of operations. So the procedure to become a part of data processing is nothing but a transaction. So because various data will be processed here, so transaction becomes a part of data processing. So whenever there is a transaction, there is a data processing, means the data in all these cases gets changed. This is about the transaction processing. So we have studied about the data processing and transaction processing. Obviously, the next concept is the application processing. So after data and the transaction processing, the data is finalized because the data has been now ready. So in these stages, data gets posted into various affected files. This is very important. So after the data and transaction processing, this is very important. The data is finalized because in the data processing, the information is ready. When the transaction, the data gets finalized for what kind of transaction? Means here we get a finalized data, that is data finalized. So what we do now? This finalized data is posted to various applications, so it affects the files. Here I write it as posting. This is very important. So data and the transaction processing helps to finalize the data, and those finalized data are posted to the various applications. When you talk all about applications, so these applications might be for the report generation or for analyzing. So this application, data transaction and the transaction processing affects the different files. So this application processing is designed to process more than one type of transaction. Means here in the talk about application processing, we are not restricting ourselves to only one kind of transaction. Here it is applicable to different types of transaction because there might be different kinds of application: inventory application, payroll application, stock application, etc. So single transaction from these two activities would be supporting for various applications that bring out the specific business result in one or more business functions. Because we know that, as I told you in the starting, when we talk about the transaction, a single transaction would be affecting the various application and also those application files. This is the importance of the application processing. So this processing is carried out once the transaction process for its validity. Means after the transaction, obviously this application is processed. So we might be saying that why do we need this application processing, sir? It is very clear. You go to an ATM, okay, there is an automation where you deposit the money or withdraw money, you do some kind of data transaction. Means when the data is been transacted, that is called a transaction, immediately what happens? Your final account statements get varied. So who is doing it? These kind of application does this. When does this application does this changes? Means your account balance file is been modified. Means the application is been changing it. So these kind of application uses or depends on data processing based on the transaction. The modification of various files will be affected from the application processing, so that you get a message as an SMS stating that after the transaction, this is what the balance is. This is very much helpful for you to understand the statistics of your account or the balance of your account. In the similar way, in any of the information, this application processing plays a major role. Now the application can be designed for the status updating and the status triggered by the action. This example what I gave you would be a very good associated with the statement. Means it is designed to provide the status. Yes, after every transaction from your ATM card in an ATM, it provides you the status of an account, and it is triggered by the action. Means obviously whenever you do an ATM transaction, you get an SMS. Means this ATM transaction is triggering the application to send an SMS about the status of your transaction. That's why there is a lot of scope with respect to the application processes, and that can be made by diversity with respect to incorporating different transactions from the same application area to the different associated areas also. Means this application processing is very much needed in order to provide lot of diversified action from the same area. This is about the application processing. So once we have seen with respect to the data processing, we have seen about the transaction processing, we have seen about the application processing. Now we will look into the one more concept, that is information system processing itself. Now finally, we have come to the main concept, that is information system processing. So this kind of information system processing is a high level with respect to overall application of the processing. Means here it is a high level processing with respect to all the processing we have done. So here the system is defined as a product that is made up of several applications or a set in order by the manner of produce or in a manner to produce a high level information output. It means this information system processing consists of n number of applications. It is totally designed in order to provide a high level information output. So first one, it's high level processing, and also when we talk about high level processing, it provides the high level information output. So for example, if we consider the financial system, it consists as a product of finance, sales, purchase, accounting application. So there are various integration of applications only in order to accomplish the financial system. In the similar way, this information system consists of lot of integrated applications into it. So this is not a single application system. It consists of lot of applications that process within it in order to provide a complete information system. Continuing with that, the basic management functions when we talk about any of the organization are as follows. So it should be very well known to everyone because it is common to every organization. The first one, when you consider with respect to management functions, there would be finance into it. So every organization involves the concept of finance, and then there would be materials. Because organization involves a lot of materials into it in order to produce, and also there would be a concept of production and service. Because many of the organizations are built in order to produce, or some organization to provide the service, and finally there would be sales. And also there would be lot of other things, other functionality associated. When we talk about the basic management functions, these can be memorized or recalled in all the business. However, these functions are executed in different manners on account of the different factors. When we talk about the execution of these management with respect to different accounts, we'll see that how does it would affect and how the different management activities would be carried in the next sessions. So by concluding into this session, we have discussed the importance of the technology of information system, we have discussed about the data processing, we have discussed about the transaction processing, we have also discussed about the application processing. When all these things are achieved, obviously we would be able to incorporate or develop the main concept, that is the information system processing. These are the contents I had wished to discuss in this session. Thank you very much.